I'm celebrating Happy Unicorn Day. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Happy Unicorn Day.
I have my unicorn headband somewhere else. Unfortunately, it's not in here in my studio.
Unicorn.
Oh, we got, where's mine? I know I've unpacked it.
Could wear
It's
both.
somewhere.
Could wear both for me. All right, everybody.
So, hey everybody, happy Unicorn Day. It's we celebrate Unicorn Day once a year this time. And we like to call it that because 5 years ago today, we were celebrating our first class that we did as a trial run, and we were trying to figure out what to name it, and we named it Happy Unicorn Day. So we've celebrated it ever since. So there you go.
It's our official holiday.
It's our official holiday. So happy Unicorn Day, everybody. May you and your unicorn produce lots of candy floss and Skittles. So yay. So today's tooltip
Well, first
is
of
about
all, who are you?
hi, it's me, Jennifer from Little Metal Foxes, and I've got
Julia, also from Little Meadow Foxes.
and
Helen from Little Metal Foxes.
yay, live from Seattle and Australia, coming at you with some tool tips today. So yeah,
International Ladies of Mystery.
that's right. It's true. Yes. Speaking of international ladies of mystery, Renee Ford. Can I just say, love her. And the reason I'm saying that is because we just got some Set It from Renee Ford, and this is really cool.
Bonus.
Yeah, bonus, right? And we're going to be sharing this with some other people this weekend, but the Seattle Metals Guild. But Renee Ford just sent us a couple of things of that. It's awesome. So if you need something to like set stones with or hold on to stuff while you're working, potentially doing a little repoussé and chasing or, working with stuff and you need something to grab onto it, there you go.
Uh,
Like a thermoplastic, but it's kind of slick. It's really cool stuff. So anyway, hi Renee. Um, okay, and you can get that at Lion Punch Forge, by the way. So check that out. So today,
LionPunchForge.com.
a jingle to share that with Chris. Okay, so a lot of times, and I know we've talked about this before, but broken drill bits, they suck. They suck for you. They suck for me. And a lot of times they will get lodged in like pieces that are cast pieces because cast metal is not completely consistent, or they'll get stuck in that thin sheet that you're trying to drill through and you can't like twist it out. You can't drill it out. So here's what you do. Julia, what have you got? What's your solution there?
Uh, well, so if it's broken off in the piece, if you have a piece of steel that's broken off in something, you can take alum. This I got in the pharmacy section of my local supermarket. It's used as a disinfectant, I think. And it's also used in canning because it says on the little label, it says food processing, and there's a little picture of a canning jar with an apple in it.
Yeah,
But
it's for
you
pickling
can
because
use
it makes it.
this. Um, I wrote on the back of the container, so I would, because I can never remember stuff like this, so I just wrote on the container itself, and I wrote 1 teaspoon of alum to approximately 2 tablespoons of water, soak overnight to dissolve steel, or boil for faster results, right?
Right, right.
So, yeah, and this works pretty well. It's the only time I've ever broken off a drill bit in something was in a pearl.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't boil.
Oh,
Right. And you can't be like drilling out the thing. But this worked
oh
fine.
my
This
God.
is one of the reasons why you should never be trying to finish a piece at 11:30 at night to deliver the following day, because you won't have time to soak out the drill bit if you break it off. You need to give yourself more time, people, to screw up. Um,
To learn.
well, I mean, you don't learn from your successes, you learn from your failures, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, you have to give the learning space, you have to make room for
Yeah,
that to happen. And, so
yeah.
anyway, so,
Take your time.
but
Well,
you have something else that you've
yes,
used, right?
absolutely. Well, I was out of alum and it was I didn't want to run to the store real quick and pick up some more alum. So I was
And
like,
you broke a drill bit?
and I had broken a drill bit and a piece of metal, and I was like, oh. So I was like, what else do I have that's corrosive on steel? Citric acid. So citric acid is also corrosive on steel. And
So
so
did you look that up on the interwebs, or did you just figure you could just try it and it would
because
work?
we use it for like etching steel. You can use citric acid for etching steel. Usually you have to use it with an electrical current, but it is, it will etch and rust steel pretty quickly. So will vinegar and salt. So I made a salad dressing using the citric acid and salt and boiled it for probably, 30 minutes, an hour, and came right out. So I was like, Yahoo! Citric acid.
Nice.
So, and citric acid, as Helen was saying earlier.
Oh, that it is the environmentally friendly pickle
Hmm.
that you get from like Rio and other places.
Hmm.
Right. So,
But it's only environmentally friendly
Until you use it.
or you use it. Yes, the minute you put copper in it, it is now toxic.
so yeah, it's a win-lose situation. But the citric acid works great for dissolving steel bits out of things like pearls. And the alum works great for the pearls as well. Both of those aren't going to hurt a pearl surface, so hooray. And it will take the drill bit out. And for metal that you don't want to damage, because you can't poke it out, scrape it out, pinch it out, twist it out. It just doesn't work most of the time. And you don't want to run the risk of hurting yourself trying to do that, or damage your metal piece while you're working on it. So
Right.
that's a great solution. But the question is, what do you do with a broken drill bit, Julia?
What do you do with a
What do you do with a broken drill bit?
Well,
What do you do with a broken drill bit?
And it's
um,
early in the morning for me.
Especially when it's really super early in the morning.
yeah, mostly I just put them in my little container that says dull drill bits.
Mhm.
Um,
Have a little container
but
as
you
well.
can use them for other things. I have used a drill bit. Actually, I did use a new one, not a broken one, as a support to hold hinge knuckles in place when I was soldering hinge knuckles down onto something. You
Brilliant.
do you want to heat the drill bit first so that you get some oxides on it. You want the steel to be dirty.
Yeah.
Even a thin layer of oil probably isn't a bad idea because you can actually solder copper, silver, brass to steel,
Yes,
and
to
then
steel, yeah.
that would be unfortunate. So you
Yeah.
definitely want your drill bit to
Yeah.
be dirty, like oily or have oxides on it before you slide it into place to
You
hold
can
your
lube it up with
knuckles.
a little bit of graphite as well.
Or graphite would also help, exactly. Um, but yeah, it's a straight piece of tool steel, and so it'll hold your hinge knuckles
Nice.
oriented correctly.
Yeah, right. So also, and when you'd mentioned that earlier, I was like, oh, duh. I could have used that the other day because I was trying to stand up a jump ring vertically to solder it to a bezel. And, you want to sort of set them up, and it's hard to get the drill bit to, And I was like,
The
oh,
jump ring. It's hard
yeah,
to get the jump ring.
try and get the jump ring, straight up and down. And I should have used a drill bit for that because I could have gotten the drill bit right in there and had it stay perfectly level so that I could solder it to the piece. And it would also act, as you were saying, as a heat sink as well.
Right. You did
So,
point because I was asking you when you said that because like if you have a drill bit like this and then you have something going through the center, it's it's going to be tippy, and so you're like, oh no, I would have just pushed the jump ring down into the charcoal block or the fire brick until the drill bit rested on the surface, and so
right.
then it's like holding it suspended, in the
Yeah.
right spot.
Yeah. But you could prop it up or, something like that.
Yes, you could prop it up, but yeah, I like the idea of using it not only to stabilize, but also because it's a heat sink, because it
Yeah.
helps keep the jump ring, that little teeny piece of metal, from overheating.
Right. So yeah, so those are all good solutions for holding things. And the other thing you said was like, even if it's broken, you can still twist it down into the fire brick or
Or the
into
charcoal block, right.
yeah.
So
So
you
if you
can use it as a support pin.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or if you need something to sort of push against, a brace pin where
Right.
you're trying to keep things sort of like a bezel or something centered on something, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But
I often I use a lot of T-pins, stainless steel T-pins, but the T-pins, they have a T at the top, and occasionally you don't want that for some reason. You just want to support, you just want a pin that's supporting the side of something, and
yeah,
so broken drill bit is a great solution for that.
yeah,
You just
absolutely.
screw it down into your block.
Exactly. So, one of the things that I learned long ago, and this is one of the best wax carving tools, that I've ever worked with. And a lot of professional wax carvers will make their own tools because they're trying to get very, very, very delicate work done. And so it's really hard to find sometimes like the perfect tool to really get in there. And they need something that almost works like an engraving tool or
Mhm.
can give you kind of a calligraphic line. And that's really hard to do without either a very tiny engraving tool. And there aren't a whole lot of like pre-made, out of the box, um, off the rack tools that are that delicate and designed for this.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, Kate Wolf, to be fair, does have her micro tools, and they're very
yes,
small and they are wicked sharp.
they are. They are fantastic.
They're fabulous.
And
They're
I mean,
also quite pricey,
they are. And they're
which is
designed
not to say anything against them. They're pricey for a reason. They're really, really well made, and she inspects them all, and they're really excellent tools.
sharp and they're high quality.
Right.
And they're high quality, well made, sharp, and made with very specific purposes in mind. So
Hmm.
they are the typical shapes that a lot of professional carvers will use. So there's sharps and a three-corner square and some other things in there that are sort of like inside scoops, and they're
Hmm.
great shapes. But still, the sharpened drill bit that I'm going to show you here is still one of my go-to tools. I mean, I love Kate's tools, but this is one of my favorite wax carving tools. And I learned this from James Maggitteri from Rocks and Foundry, who's got a nice little Instagram if you want to pop over and see James. But a
Well,
lot
and if you're just starting at wax carving and you're not sure you want to commit, or maybe this isn't quite you're not ready to spend the money on Kate's tools, you can certainly make some of these
absolutely.
tools for yourself for a while, and then you'll appreciate hers even more.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and customizing things like, and we can talk about this in another tool tip, but customizing things like uh, old X-Acto blades as
Hmm.
well, is another great wax carving tool. But I want to show you how to make this particular tool with a broken drill bit, and I use the other end. I'll sort of like, round off the end of the drill bit so I can use it in wax. And so any broken drill bits that I have go over to usually to my wax bench up there. And as one of my tools is my go-to thing. So I usually use this in a pin vise, and it's just the drill bit the flutes are in the pin vise, and the shank is the thing that I sharpen. So let me show you how I do this. I'm going to flip over let me switch my camera so you can see me do this. Here we go. There we are. So here we are. So what I usually do, there it is. Beep. Aha. There we go. Get that in focus right there. All right. So what I've usually got is my dull or broken drill bits. And the nice thing about this is you can do this with, any size. So if you've got, some really delicate details that you're working with, and you've got some very fine broken drill bits, great. Sometimes you've got bigger ones and those can be really helpful too. So just depending on what you're working on or what you've got, you can use those things. So what I do is I will, tell me, is that chart, is that focus?
Hmm.
There you
Yep,
go.
looks
Yep.
beautiful.
So there you go. So there's my, the drill end, of course. But on the shank end, and this is how I know which ones are my broken and or dull drill bits because they're over in my wax carving area. But what I'll do is I'll grind this down at usually about a 45 to 60-degree angle, and you can do it at a different angle if you want. But what that does, it just puts a really nice ongulette end, kind of like an engraving tool,
Hmm.
and it will give you that nice calligraphic line for carving into the wax. It's really lovely. So here's another one. It's a little bit larger, but yeah, almost like a syringe tip, right?
Hmm. Like
Yeah,
a syringe without the hollow. Can you show us
right.
how it works in the wax?
Yes, absolutely. So there we go. Is that in focus for you?
Hmm. Yep.
So you can kind of, carve your way along almost like an engraving tool and get kind of a nice like flippy line. There we go. I use this a lot for doing like carving leaf shapes. So I can kind of go in one direction, go in the other direction. You guys hear the fire trucks going by. There we go. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we can't hear the fire trucks.
Oh, good, because they're rolling down the street. There we go. All right. So yeah, so I can do even, animal fur. I can do hair. I can do leaf shapes, because it'll give me this really lovely kind of carved line. And just by tipping it in, one direction or another, I can kind of undercut a side, use it as a scraping tool. Yeah, so, but it gives me this really lovely shape that I really love. I can kind of like almost a comma shape when I'm working. But yeah, so this little carving tool, and it's just absolutely sharp as all get out. So what I do is I will take, and I'm gonna use my
You need to pull your focus.
yeah, let me hang on here. Whoop. How's that?
Yep.
Here we go. So here we go. So I've got my drill bit, and I'm going to put it into my pin vise.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is a tool hardened steel, you can't really file it because it's like trying to file glass. It's just,
Right. I mean,
does nothing, right?
right. I mean, you could anneal it, but then you'd have to harden it and temper it, and
Exactly.
you're kind of trying to avoid all of those steps.
Right, right. And you can grind this to, a flat shape or the onglet shape or a point, whatever you want. But I usually use like a grinding stone on my flex
Hmm.
shaft and just holding this at about a 45-degree angle. See if I can get this over here
Do
a
you
little.
keep a little cup of water to moisten it so that it doesn't get overheated, so you lose the temper of the
No, I do this
steel?
pretty quick, so it's here we go. And there we go.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess you're carving wax with it, so it probably really, it's
Yeah.
not like it has to be sharp the way a graver for metal would be sharp.
Right, right.
We can't see the side of your grinding wheel.
Let me move this way a little bit. What? There we go. Huh. That side.
Yes.
Hey there, buddy.
I mean, you'd have to work on the inside otherwise. Oh, nope, nope,
Yeah.
not quite.
Trying,
Close, close.
trying, trying.
More.
There we go. If I can get it to stand up there we go. Okay. So what I usually do is I'll come in with my tool at about a 45-degree angle like that,
Hmm.
get things rolling, and if it gets really hot, you can cool it down with water. But I'll just kind of go slow and grind, 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 grind. And I'm holding it steady, but kind of sweeping across my grinding wheel,
Hmm.
you know, and checking the shape as I go. So right now it's kind of started to get that onglet shape, but it's flat on the top. And I want to take it down to the point where it's oval all the way through. So kind of a nice cross section
Hmm.
and a nice flat angle. So once I get it all the way down there, there
So
we
as you're wiping the little filings off, is it hot?
No, it's so little. I mean, it is warm, but it's so little that it's really not. I'm not feeling.
Okay. Then it probably isn't destroying the temper. I mean, you would know if the temper were gone because it would get kind
Well,
of that brown.
yeah, it would start to change color. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what I do then is kind of roll it around the back,
Just to
just to
knock
take,
the burr off.
yeah, just take the burrs off, and that gives me that nice little onglet shape. And
Hmm.
I can take that down to a little more of a point if I want to. And I'm doing this on the back side, so it gives me a little bit more of a sharp point on the end of this.
Hmm. As
But if
opposed
you're
to a rounded point.
as opposed to the onglet sort of shape.
Hmm.
So depending on, what shape you want or how sharp you want this to be, you can, change the shape of that just by grinding it down. But I do try and make sure I'm getting like this nice and flat, and that gives me a really good carving edge. What you can also do is just take your a little bit of sandpaper and just roll that around the back, and that'll remove any of those loose burrs.
Hmm.
And I have a grinding stone. This one is 1,000 on one side and 6,000 on the other. And so this is great if I want to sharpen it. I can turn that over. This already has a little bit of oil on it.
Hmm.
what I do is I'll put that so it's face down and just draw it away a few times.
We can barely see you. You're way out over on
Right.
the edge of the image.
Whoop, there we go. So I'll just sort of take it and sort of draw it along a few times. Boop, boop, boop.
Oop, we lost you again. Your camera moved.
There we go. I'll move back to here. But there you go. And so it doesn't take but a second, to
That was quick.
customize a little tip like that. So then this will go in with my my wax carving tools. But seriously, this thing, and if I need to sort of, test it to see what it's going to
Can you
do.
bring the wax more into the frame? Down. There we go.
So for,
Oh, I
carving,
see. You can really kind of slice off little
yeah,
slivers.
absolutely. So even by using this like as a scraping tool,
Mm-hmm.
it's so sharp, and because of the rounded shape, it doesn't chatter.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is good for sort of getting into those really tight, and if I need to undercut an edge or, really get, a calligraphic sort of like detail, carving something like leaf shapes, it works like an engraving tool, Um,
Mm-hmm.
but so for doing really fine detail, this is an absolute necessity for wax carving. I love this tool. So yeah. Anyway, um,
That's great.
something you've already got in the
Thanks so
studio,
much.
something you would throw away normally. But yeah. And I've got, like I said, I've got different sizes and different shapes
We
of that.
can't see the ends. You're too zoomed
Whoops,
in.
sorry. Sort of flew in and out really quickly. So yeah, there we go. So whoop,
Mm-hmm.
there. Yeah. So yeah, so get yourself a few of your broken drill bits together and um, a little grinding wheel, and you're good to go. So yeah,
Sounds good. That's great.
grinding stone. But yeah, but I love using those for wax carving because when you're trying to get into all those crazy little come on camera, there we go. When you're trying to get into all those like little teeny tiny nooks and crannies, and remove material and not
Mm-hmm.
just scratch it, that is like one of the best things ever. So I found that the two things that really elevated my wax carving were knowing how to make this tool and customize things like the X-Acto knives, but Kate Wolf's tools, because they are so sharp and so delicate in getting into really nice little shapes, and like undercutting, and the curve that she's got and a couple of other shapes are just it's really difficult to make all those yourself, and it's time wise, if you're weighing your time cost versus what the tools cost, they're really affordable actually.
Mm-hmm.
So they're expensive, just thinking about it as a wax carving tool, but in the long run, if you're making those tools and sharpening them and work hardening them and annealing them, and going through the process of making every single one of those, it is to your advantage just to buy the set. So but yeah, but start with this. Start with, a couple of broken drill bits, or, you're good to go. And I love using broken saw blades in my my little needle holder for sawing out little areas in wax too. So I'll use my saw blades for that. So like a little like zip, 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 zip saw rather than like a saw.
Nice.
So
Well,
yeah.
great. That was awesome.
There you go. There's our tool tip for the day, everybody. So hold on to those broken drill bits and put them to good use. And whether you're soldering or using them to hold something, or you're using them to create new tools, you're all set. Hi,
Thank
Mary.
you.
There's Mary.
Oh, we have a visitor.
Yep.
Oh, now she's gone. Dang it.
International cat of mystery. There you go.
Yep.
They're everywhere. All right, ladies. You all have a wonderful unicorn day, and we'll see you next week on Tool Tip Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.